अब भेज दिए तो आने दे दो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं। हम ऑडियो ऑफ करके फोन चलो जब हो। Yeah, Riddhi, am I audible?
Yes, go on.
Okay. Yeah, am I audible, Riddhi?
Yes, you are.
Am I clear? You can give a thumbs up. Am I clear? A hearty welcome everyone. I'm P. Shravan the founder and CEO of SK Associates and Group, an ex-analyst at Citigroup and JP Morgan, the leading Wall Street banks of New York Stock Exchange, and an ex-associate solicitor at the Supreme Court of India and the Karnataka High Court. I'm your host for today's conference 0.9 on emerging role of skill development and training programs in improving work efficiency. SK Associates and Group is an internationally accredited ISO certified management consulting firm registered under MSME Act 2006 with the Government of India. We provide consulting services in the domain of compliance, operations, marketing, research and development, human capital, strategy and operations to budding student entrepreneurs across the nation. SK Associates and Group was formed with the dream to provide consulting services to student entrepreneurs and help them in developing the national economy by establishing their dream firms across various industries. We work with startups and train potential student entrepreneurs who are aiming to bring a significant change either in their business model, in their scale of operation, or to succeed in this endeavor. Our clients need a specific type of consultant, someone who is a problem solver. Typically, such a person is entrepreneurial and passionate, thinks out of the box, has an idea where the problem lies, how to analyze it, and most importantly, what to serve as a perfect solution for it. Such people have lived and worked in different continents and countries. They have worked on exciting projects. They have taken risks and have scars to show. We call such people as transformational consultants. We have worked over the last 3 years to build a network of such people, reaching out to them across universities, across industries, and across the gamut of functionality. Time and again, we have seen magic happen when we find the perfect solution for our clients. This is what drives us and keeps us motivated each day. We are passionate and excited about the impact such individuals can have in building the next generation of iconic organizations in the corporate sector. Our mission is to mentor 3 lakh students across India by 2026 by providing them with consulting services, strategy and operation, human capital, compliance, legal advisory, research and development, taxation, marketing, human resource development, and help them in establishing their ventures by investing 20 crore US dollars in the startups over the next 5 years. We also aim to provide 50,000 employment opportunities to various lecturers across the nation by providing them with multiple volunteering opportunities. We strongly believe that strategic alliance and collaboration shall help us achieve our vision in working for the cause of global economic. Our executive management and operations teams are always dedicated on working towards entrepreneurship development and community impact, the concentration on the point. Students are the upcoming future generations of our nation and need to be empowered for global economy. Visit our website to know more about us, www.skandgroup.com. I'm going to start my startup. So I want to know the issues which emerge in a private limited company. What are the cost and process? This is a very popular question every first-time founder generally has when he is starting up and approaches my consultants or any other consulting. Prior to becoming an entrepreneur, even I usually doubted if I would have the sufficient abilities to lead an organization. This results in a search for co-founders or consultants from every background, help them make decisions, devise strategies, and execute. In answer to all such questions of budding student entrepreneurs who wish to emerge as entrepreneurs, we have organized Conference 0.9 on emerging role of skill development and training programs in improving work efficiency. Now I would like to introduce all our honorable guests for today. Before doing so, I would like to request all the attendees to kindly switch on their webcams and stay on audio. Our HR team is conducting opinion calls via the chats. You may actively participate in it. So, our first guest for today is Mr. Ashish Mittal, the Group CHRO at Srinidhi Education Group, Hyderabad. He comes with a rich and diverse and global work experience of 23 years spanning across CSR, IT, ITES and education industry. He has done his HR certification from IIM Bangalore and MBA from Southern New Hampshire University, US. Ashish is a certified competency-based interviewer, CBI, a global certified psychometric test professional, CPT, and a certified HR auditor from Iping University, Malaysia. In his early roles, he has worked as the head of public relations at the Akshay Path Foundation, the lead EPHR at Infosys, wherein he was leading a unit of 2,000 plus employees. Head HR at Manipal International University, Malaysia. General Manager and Head HR at Shivnadar University, part of SCL Technology. Our next guest is Dr. Santosh Kumar Kulpagar, who is the CFO and CHRO of iDigi Cloud Technologies in Mumbai. He has previously worked as the CHRO of Indian Private Limited, Hyderabad, and the Head HR of CG Power and Industrial Solutions Limited. Dr. Kulpagar is an alumni of IIM Ahmedabad and IIT Delhi. He has completed his PhD from National Institute of Industrial Engineering in 2016 and has almost 2 decades of experience in human resources. We are also pleased to have Michael, who is an IP partner in the New York office of Begin and Dana LLP. He is also a co-chair of Begin's Blockchain and Digital Assets Club and its trade secrets. Michael focuses on all areas of intellectual property law, providing his clients with full service IP expertise that ranges from patent, trademark, copyright, and trade secret litigation, IP-related transactions, including licensing and monetization, helping companies to protect and reap maximum value from their own innovations and products. Trained in electrical engineering and bringing a business background as a technology consultant, Michael is known for his ability to quickly learn new technologies and distill complicated topics. He works with a broad range of technologies, including consumer electronics, wireless and mobile devices, batteries, mechanical devices, healthcare and medical devices, computer architecture, software and networks, including open source software, semiconductor chips, internet and e-commerce platforms. We also have Mr. Shravan Shetty, who is an accredited international certified career coach and has been trained by stellar organizations such as Accenture, Infosys, among others, to train the trainer program on the benchmark model. He has worked with 350 plus educational institutions, 200 plus companies and startups, and 125 plus NGOs across the years in different capacities. Through the program, he designs and delivers. His work as an individual coach as well as a consultant across projects has provided the point of view to skill training from diverse perspectives of building programs, scale and projects which are non-scalable as required by an underprivileged community or for young people requiring individual attention. He is also the co-founder of Bodhi. Now, I would like to invite Advocate Prithvi Bhanushali, my co-host from the Mumbai High Court, to take over. Thank you.
Greetings everyone, I am Advocate Prithvi Bhanushali, a practicing attorney at Mumbai High Court and enrolled with the Bar Council for the state of Maharashtra. I am Shravan's co-host for the Conference 0.9 and the Chief Strategic Alliance Advisor of SK Associates and Group. Even throughout my career as a lawyer, my favorite question that I always ask this founders, are you sure that you have the skills required to run a startup? Seems you shall have to guide and direct your board of directors, employees, head of departments and related human resources, finance, marketing, research and development, compliance related issues and even technical development. Having both an overall knowledge of this domain at once is a highly unlikely situation. So you can either hire consultants or develop the basic and most important skills by yourself. I would like to request the guests and attendees to kindly switch on your respective webcam during the conference. I would also like to inform all of you that Ms. Vaishali Shri and team are conducting polls in the chat box throughout the session. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Ashish Mittal, Group CHRO of Srinidhi Education Group, to come and say
Hi, very good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Right, fine, brilliant. Thank you so much, Ricky, and thank you so much, Shravan. Okay, very good evening, friends. So I'm actually going to have a quick PowerPoint presentation for about 8 to 9 minutes, followed by a rapid question and answer session. Okay, so I'm going to present myself. Just keep. It may take a couple of seconds. Please let me know once you are able to see the first slide. Riddhi, could you please confirm once the slide is?
Yes, sir. We can see the first slide.
Let's see. Alright. And I'm just going to move on to the second slide. So that has it moved to the second slide, Riddhi?
No, sir. Yes, sir. Now it is. Again, it is back to first slide.
Has it gone to second slide now?
No, sir. It's first slide.
It's hanging in the first slide. No worries. I'm
Yeah,
just-
now it is second. Again, first.
So basically, I had created some animations and everything. So we'll park that aside. We just switch on to the content. Okay. So basically, before we go into the depth of skill development and training programs, how it's contributing to the work efficiency, let's quickly understand as to what is a quick understanding of skill development. It basically identifies the gaps and develops the skills which will help an employee, which will help an individual to achieve their desired goals. Okay? It's also an ability and capacity acquired through deliberate, through systematic, through very scientific training, which involves ideas, things, and people, so which has a mixture of cognitive skills, technical skills, and the most important, are the interpersonal skills. Thirdly, skill development is also the recognition, practice, and internalization of skills towards improved execution of skills. Because what happened was in the past, our education system is not about, like by hearting everything and vomiting out of the exams. No. Today, it's the days where you have to internalize the learnings practically, have like roles, like role plays, case studies, practically implement them in your life, and so that you get a complete comprehensive understanding of the skills. Skill development is also the method of detecting skills, gaps, and improving on the skills. And lastly, improving ability to perform a job-related activity, which helps to contribute a task to the highest efficiency level. The most important over here is to understand that there are huge gaps today. We'll see in the coming few slides, there are a lot of gaps between what is expected in the industry versus what is being produced by various colleges and institutes. That's exactly the reason why a lot of corporates are facing challenges when it comes to training the freshers for a job, because they would preferably want first day, first hour productivity. First day, first hour productivity. So what is that training program? It's basically a very planned sequence and a combination of activities designed to equip employees with knowledge and skills to become better professionals. We know the most important triangle, the knowledge, skills, and attitude, right? I'm sure all of you will think about it. So the training program essentially focuses on your hard skills. Okay, not on the soft skills, focusing on the hard skills by providing rigorous training and knowledge so that it helps you to achieve your desired outcome. I was also going through one of the articles which appeared in Times of India, in the month of April, 21st April. This is the importance of skill development at early age in school education. This article was actually alarming for me because we talk about it at college level, post that at master's level. But look where the trend is moving. They are also trying to imbibe the importance of skill development right from the school entry level itself. So basically, when I read the article, I could just summarize 4 important key takeaways for this session. First of all, through skill development, it enhances creativity. It helps people to think out of the box, to be creative and not just, trying to do whatever is being told or something. So you really have to be, because today when you all enter the industry, when you enter the job market, people will expect, because there are a lot of problems, they'll expect to come with a lot of solutions, and there are no ready-made rules, ready-made answers available. So you have to be creative, you have to think out of the box, so that you can get the best possible answer for the particular problem. Secondly is a purpose-driven action. Most importantly, skill development focuses that today most of the graduates, I remember, like when I take interviews, they say, Ashish, though I've done my graduation or BTech and take a master's, I'm still clueless as to which career path would I choose in my life. So which means they're completely lost. So the skill development helps an individual, because these people, when they're lost in terms of career, they've actually never sat back and reflected where their passion is, where their area of interest is. They're not on a SWOT analysis. I'm sure if there's some management students, we spotted strengths, weakness, opportunity, and threats. So since they are not internalized and practically implemented a lot of what they've studied, they are actually clueless as to what they should do in life. So your skill development helps you to understand at an individual level what your strengths are, what are your areas of improvement, so that you can take a very calculated, data-based decision, and not whimsically, fanatically, or the herd mentality, because 10 people are saying no. It's a very scientific, data-based decision. Thirdly, encourages independent thinking. So skill development, it actually helps you to understand one problem from different angles, and also tries you to give your best solution. Lastly, accepting failures gracefully. We have all seen the parts of the COVID phase, right? A lot of deaths, a lot of suicides. We see a lot of youngsters as well in that particular age group. Why is that? Because the quality of resilience, they do not have sufficient resilience. My point is, we are not trained, or we are not ready to accept how the failures in life. Because through skill development, through practicing, through various training programs, sessions, we try to understand that even losing is a part of the game, is a part of life. So how do we accept that, learn from it, and move ahead in life? That's very important. In fact, that's one of the most important quality all HR leaders are looking for in employees, is the resilience. Because we want employees who are emotionally very strong. We have the EQ, we have the IQ, EQ stands for emotional quotient. How well a person, how well an individual is able to balance his emotions, how well he is able to convey his probably areas where he's not kind of agreeing with a particular decision, how he's embracing diversity, respecting others' viewpoints. So it's very important. It's accepting failures gracefully. It's very actively taught during the skill development programs. So we've all kind of moved from industry 1.0 to 4.0. Okay. So Industry 1 started mechanization, started in the 18th century, then we were in the 19th century where we had the introduction of electricity was founded. Then you have Industry 3.0, which started this automation and computer and electronics. And today we are at the Industrial 4.0, which is actually a game changer, because it's leveraging on technology, especially in the manufacturing sector, the way goods and services are produced. So my point, the entire landscape has changed. So the importance of training is emphasized 100 times much during the Industry 4.0, especially with the focus on cybersecurity, cloud computing, IoT, AI, ML, machine learning, data science, network engineering, business intelligence. So this, my point is, so trainings are one of the most important elements of Industry 4.0. Now, when we're talking about skill development training programs, it's also important for you to understand that every organization, I repeat, every organization has a very clear roadmap towards organizational excellence. Okay? Be it the top-notch Infosys, Wipro, TCS, or for the startup, any organization for the matter. Now, if we actually break down, drill down of what actually are the parameters of organizational excellence, or what are the action points which helps an organization to move ahead. First thing is planning. Okay, creating a vision and action plan, establishing benchmarks. Second is positions, trying to understanding who to hire, when to hire, why to hire, people. Okay, again defining trainings and coaching, mentoring sessions, feedback sessions, processes, the most important integral part of any organization. backbone, I would say, are the hardcore process and systems. The performetrics, how is the performance evaluated over a period of time? That will determine how the employees are happy, how the employees are rewarded. Lastly, the passion, identifying why a particular employee wants to perform this. Now, why I'm linking this to this conversation is because if you look at all the 6 points, it builds back to development and programs. Because these development training programs are not there, your organizational excellence will be a question mark. So it's very important to understand that each and every parameter is very, very closely linked with development and training programs. There was a World Economic Forum study as well, which interestingly stated that by 2025 there will be more than 50% of the employees which will need reskilling. So my point is, Ashish might have been a genius. Your past performance is not necessarily an indicator of the future performance. I repeat, the past performance, I would have been a great hero, great performer. That does not mean Ashish will be a top performer for the next 10 years. Why? Because the landscape is changing, the dynamics are changing, the metrics are changing. Okay? So that's where the importance of skilling and reskilling is the need of an hour. So look at this, 15% of employees, so it's no joke. It's a huge amount of importance laid to training. One of the important points which I want to highlight is we call all of us know the hard skills and the soft skills. But we should also know now soft skills are no longer called the soft skills, it's also called as power skills. Okay? Because these skills are actually going to be in high demand. There was a study by McKinsey. They said they're going to be in high demand till about 2030. Now, what are these few soft skills? I will start right from negotiation. Okay? Because in every action of ours, in every job role, we are trying to negotiate either with vendors or with customers. Customers can be internal customers or external customers. Second is empathy. Today, how are we really empathetic towards our team members, towards our colleagues, towards our business partners for that matter? Third is the teamwork. Gone are the days when we had very few, like we had individual contributor, IC roles, individual contributor roles. Today it's teamwork. You have no option. There have been a lot of situations, a lot of examples where an employee A performs very good when you put him individually, but the moment you put him amidst of team of 5-6 people, is a huge failure. So my point is, you will have to collaborate with cross-functional teams within the organization. So teamwork is not an option. You can't say, I don't like him, I don't like her, I don't like his attitude. No. You have to make your way and get your job done. You have to work with people. So teamwork is extremely important. Communication. Creativity. We already covered communication. How clear are you conveying your ideas and thoughts? Because sometimes we need to understand that, especially at top level, people have the most important quality is the time. The time is extremely limited. So what has to be said in 3 minutes, if you say 10 minutes, you're a failure in your communication style. So how precise you are in communicating to ensure that the meat of the matter, the main essential content remains it's kind of very clearly communicated. Decisiveness, how are you going to handle various, probably you're going to work on parallel tracks, multiple projects, how are you going to synchronize? Time management. But most importantly, most employees, Ashish, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. No, you have to manage time. So time management is extremely important. Suppose some task is not doable, please walk up to your manager well in advance and tell, look, I can't do, or I need more time. So time management is extremely important. Leadership skills. Sometimes employees come and say, Ashish, I've just joined an organization, leadership is at top. No, leadership is at all levels. There will be opportunities where there might be some emergency in your project. So there will be opportunities for you as an individual to exhibit your leadership skills. So my point is, these few skills are extremely important, and I would say that's the reason in every training program, okay, because from a content perspective, from a domain knowledge, yes, the school, college teaches, but where employees fail today, where individuals fail today are the soft skills. They burn bridges, they create fights, they create politics, they actually jeopardize their career, which means the soft skills play a huge role. Okay? Soft skills can either make you or break you. It's not only professional, in your personal life. All these aspects, what I'm talking, soft skills, also imply in your personal lives. So that's it. I just want to share these points that the importance of skill development and training programs all the more higher in this coming years. So I'll be open for any question and answer session. If anybody has anything, please do feel free to ask any question. Please do feel absolutely free. You don't have to get the break yet.
Yeah, okay.
Just
If anyone has any queries, you may ask your questions to Mr. Mehta. Any queries on the points? Mr. Amir Abdullah, Manchis Sena, Abhishek Tiwari, no queries? Yeah, you have a query?
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Sir, actually, I want to ask that if someone is being a fresher and I'm in a third year and I'm in a second year, fourth semester, so how could we achieve at this level as there are not much opportunities to learn soft skills or internship once in second year and fourth semester? So what should we do regarding this all?
See, okay, thanks for asking the question. So first thing is, let me tell you, today a lot of training content is available online. You talk a lot of courses available on Coursera. LinkedIn, for that matter, has a lot of very good courses where you can actually undergo them, pass through tests, and then you get certified. So a lot of courses online available. Secondly, in terms of jobs, I would say it's extremely important. It's the age of networking. How many of you are on LinkedIn? How many of you are connected? How many of you are actively interacting with different professional colleagues from different industries? So all this will open your job opportunities and will show you a plethora of options. So my point, my dear friend, do not wait for someone to come and teach you. Today it's everything self-learning, e-learning, online modeling, and that's the way the world is going to move forward. So just brush up. A lot of articles are available on LinkedIn. You can even read a lot of articles. Get connected to a lot of people who are subject matter experts, and then have an interaction with them, take their time, discuss with them wherever you feel you need help, your problems or wherever you have shortcomings, feel free to discuss.
Okay, sir. Thank you for your suggestion. And can we really, should we really need to talk to directly to HR team, or firstly we should connect to their company numbers and then we should approach the HR team on the LinkedIn?
So you can feel free. There is no, it's like different strokes for different people. So basically, if you know someone on LinkedIn and you can request, hey, I have a doubt, can you please, help me out, give me about 10 minutes of the time slot, and then be specific and precise. Don't waste the time of senior people, professionals, because their time is very limited. So be very clear. You can even email your doubts and questions, you will get an answer. So feel free to get connected. There is no that, suppose there is no one fixed rule that, first get in touch with him or a lot of people available on LinkedIn. It's just feel free, and a lot of people are willing to help as well.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sir, I have one question. That always time management helps you in some or the other ways. Time management helps you in a lot of ways. But going through training programs only can make you learn soft skills, or you have to inculcate them in your daily life? I think so.
Sure.
Inculcating is more, I guess inculcating them in the life is more of the thing which has to be looked upon.
Absolutely. You're right, Ricky. So all the soft skills, like I'm a badminton player, so I'm just going to give a badminton example. Okay. I mean, for the man to swimming, you can see a lot of videos on YouTube. It's how to swim, freestyle, underwater, different, or badminton, different strokes, different things. But unless and until you practice, you'll never learn. Similar to soft skills, it's not like overnight I can buy hard or I can fix it, download and update my OS and start expert. You will have to interact with people, there are situations which will come in your personal life, professional life. So it's a journey. It's not beginning and not end. It's a journey, and you learn during the journey. So that's that.
So, sir, it is necessary to get certified and have a lot of certificates in skills development, soft skills, and training programs. So is it necessary for a lot of certificates, or you can learn on your own with the help of YouTube videos and everything?
See, Ricky, the answer is you can definitely learn on YouTube video. That's more than enough. Tomorrow, when HR people are interviewing, as long as I find really very confident, you have I suppose if I give you problems and you're able to use an analytical bent of mind, logical thinking, reasoning, I'm okay with it. I don't need any certifications. But example, I'm suppose you have a lot of time available at you, and instead of whiling it away, you've also done 1 or 2 certifications. It only adds on to your profile. So there's no harm in having 1 or 2. I'm not saying have 100, 200, but at least 2 or 3 is always good for you to showcase to your employer that I had some time and I've done this certification as well. So it makes your case very strong.
But always there comes a problem. A problem arises of money. Okay, if they go for soft skill trainings and programs, they charge a lot of price. So everyone is not good to go with the same. So what to do in that case?
So really, let me tell you, SHRM also conducts a lot of online training workshops which are free of cost. There are a lot of soft skills workshops which are happening globally, by the way. So forget now, COVID has taught us there are no more boundaries, right? Amchi, Mumbai, Maharashtra, there's nothing like this. It's all over India, all over the world. It's a very flat world now. So you can log in to various, if you go to the SHRM, there are a lot of seminars happening, live seminars happening around the clock. You just log in and you'll also get a certificate that you participate. So there are ways and means. So you need to be hungry, you need to have the thirst, then you will find an answer. Where there is a will, there is a way simply.
Yeah.
Any other question?
Yeah, good evening, sir. So, actually, I had a question regarding mostly, like right now, I have a 6 months break going on. So, I was doing a lot of internships and I was even doing.
Can you please turn on your video? Who's speaking? Can you please turn on your video? And if it's okay,
so actually, the thing is, right now I'm traveling. So
no worries, please go ahead. Go ahead. No worries, please go ahead.
okay. So.
Yeah.
So, right now I'm doing a lot of internships and some of the courses also I was doing online. But which one would you prefer? Like with my free time, I was involving myself in both these kind of things. But which one would you prefer? Would highlight my profile if I would do the internship, or I would go for the certification?
So maybe what you could do is you could connect with me offline after this session, and then let me understand your profile first of all. Only then I'll be able to give you a suggestion, because I don't know what's your background. I'm clueless. So maybe after this session, I hope it makes sense, right?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
If anyone else has any queries, you may address them to Mr. Mittal. Yeah, Mr. Mittal, you could just share your email ID in the chat box so that they can connect.
Yeah, even I was about to say the same.
You may continue.
Yeah, I was about to say the same, that sir to
like in the chat box, so that the ones who want to connect can connect.
no quite a question from people.
Shravan, you have any question? Okay, so now I would like to thank Mr. Ashish Mittal, Group CHR of Senior Education, which enthralled the hearts of our audience. Now I would like to invite Dr. Santosh Kumar Cholpagar to comment his speech.
So thank you very much, Riddhi. Thank you, Shravan, for inviting me here. I'm audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
I'm going to share my presentation. I think it was a wonderful presentation from Ashish, and I think I'm just going to build on what he has said.
Yes, sir.
Is the presentation visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So the topic for this presentation is emerging role of skill development and training programs in improving work. So the way I there is some disturbance. If members can put them on mute, actually it will help.
Yes, sir, we have muted everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you, Riddhi. Yeah, the way I have structured this presentation is as follows. First, I would like to actually talk about what is the work efficiency and why it matters. Because this topic is all about the skill development, training programs, and improving the work efficiency. So, initially, I would like to set up a context in terms of what is work efficiency, how does it matter. Then, I would like to build a case. Already, actually, Ashish has given a lot of points in terms of why skill development, training programs are important, but I would like to actually share from my perspective. Then, I will also talk the reverse side. Once the business case is built, the need of training programs. Then based on my experience, what has been the philosophy that I have followed whenever I have actually designed the learning and development programs that I would like to share with everybody. Then what is the recommended approach? And finally some of the learning tracks that any corporate uses. And at the end I would like to conclude. So let us begin with the work efficiency. Why does it matter? So the definition of work efficiency is, I'm sure all of you must have studied this. Many of you are engineering students. So the efficiency is defined as output upon input. So what we are saying is working efficiency results in advanced piece value from the same quantum of resource input. So what we are saying is we want to get a more and more output from the same resources. Then we are able to improve working efficiency. So now I am sure we understand the working efficiency, but I would like to bring one more concept which is followed in many corporates, that is actually the effectiveness. So here is a quote from Mr. Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker is a well-known management guru. What he says, efficiency is doing things right, whereas effectiveness is doing the right things. And let me give an example here to make the point very clear. Maybe you are a salesperson. Let's say, I think many of you are actually trying to start your own business, so it is very important that once you start your business, you need to get a revenue, and for you to get a revenue, you need to sell. So selling is very important. Let's say you are a sales manager, and as a sales manager, some of the skill sets which are required are you need to know about your product, you need to know about your customers, you need to know about your competitors, you need to know the entire canvas for you to get a more sales. So let's say there is a sales guy who is very efficient, who actually does 3-4 meetings in a day, whereas other people are struggling to do even 1 or 2 meetings. That means the sales person is very efficient. He is not only able to do 3-4 meetings, he is actually able to maybe convince them to buy your product. But let us say, now the sales manager, when he is meeting the prospective customers, some of them, now listen very carefully, what I am saying, some of the customers, some of the clients are on the verge of bankruptcy, or they are already bankrupt. Does it make sense to actually go and meet these people and make a wonderful sales speech? Obviously not, because even if you get a business from these people, you are not going to get cash for your business. You may deliver a product to or service to these people, but you may not get a money for the service that you are going to deliver. So what is more important is, efficiency is very important, but at the same time we have to identify whether we are on the right track. Are we actually approaching the right customer? Are we approaching the right set of people who can give us a business? So efficiency and effectiveness goes hand in hand. Effectiveness is much more important because first you need to identify the right path. And I can give much more examples based on my experience, but in the interest of time, I just want to tell you that work efficiency is very essential, but more than the work efficiency, effectiveness is very important. So the way effectiveness is defined is, again we are talking about the output, but here we are talking about significant amount of output using the same amount of input resources. So the efficiency will help us to get more output from the same resources, whereas if you are effective, you will be able to get significant amount of output from the same amount of input. So why does it matter? Because it reduces the effort to complete the task, it finds ways to do more. So here I am trying to tell you that work efficiency and effectiveness goes hand in hand, and we need to understand that first we have to identify the right path and then increase our efficiency of our speed. So efficiency is all about the speed, whereas the effectiveness is all about are we on the right path. So let's move on to the business case. So here the business case we are building for the skill development and training programs. So for building the business case, first we need to understand by having a skill development or by having a training program, what is going to happen? What is going to happen is, and I am going to share it more from the corporate point of view. So any corporate is always working for business outcomes. And what are the business outcomes? Many of you are actually students, many of you are actually entrepreneurs, many of you are actually working professionals. Each one of you and each of your organization also have certain purpose, certain agenda. They all are in the business of making money. Even if it is
Yeah, please.
so they are all in the business of making money. Some of the examples of business outcomes could be revenue. You have to increase your revenue. Secondly, you have to increase your profitability. Third could be increasing your market share. Fourth could be, your return on capital employed. There could be multiple examples. And when we talk about the efficiency, you may say revenue per employee, profitability per employee. Or what we are saying is, take any ratio which determines output divided by input. If you are putting 100 crores, are you able to generate 1000 crore, 2000 crore, 5000 crore? That determines your efficiency in achieving certain business outcomes. And how the business outcomes will come? That is the next point. And I would like to actually quote one particular sentence from a book called The Goal, written by E.M. Goldratt. So what Goldratt says, and this book is used in many training programs by several organizations, be it a social organization, be it a commercial organization. What it says is, if the company's goal is to make money, then we should focus on increasing throughput. And when we are saying throughput, it could be applicable to the manufacturing as well as the service organization. And secondly, decreasing the inventory and decreasing the operational expenses. So the message is very clear. Increase the top line, reduce the cost of operation, and you see that the bottom line is also increased.
Sir, I have a question. During the starting of a business, we have a lot of input cost, but output is very less. But by time, is it true that inputs are less and outputs are more?
See, actually, is that really?
Yeah, sir.
Phase wise, you need to decide the business outcome. So if you have created a business plan for 3 years, and if you are a startup and you know that your product will be out only after 2 years, are we together? So that means the revenue will start only after 2 years.
Yeah, true.
So if in first 6 months or in first 1 year, if you are talking about the revenue generation, then that is the wrong business outcome to be considered. But in first 6 months, you need to work towards building the product. Are we together?
Yeah.
So for building the product, first 6 months, can we define certain measurable outputs? It could be your product development, it could be about mobilizing the right amount of people, it could be getting the funding. But at any given point of time, there are going to be certain business outcomes. And when I share the revenue or the profitability, obviously it is for some of the established organizations. But if you are a startup, but if you don't have goals for yourself at any phase of your business life, then you are doomed. Even if you are beginning business, you need to define the business goals for next 3 months. And those goals need not be related to the profitability, need not be related to the sales, but they could be related to product development, they could be related to mobilizing the right people, getting funding, and there could be multiple things. Is this clear, Riddhi?
Yeah, sir, very clear.
Okay, thank you very much. So what I'm saying is business outcomes.
Sir, I'm sorry to cut you in between. I'm really sorry, sir. So basically what you're saying is in the first initial years, we should just try to focus on the generating normal profit. Because in the initial stages, there is going to be a bit of loss maybe. But our main output should be of normal profit, and then after some time, we should start generating profits as a whole thing of a venture.
That's right.
Okay.
So So what I'm saying with you is based on the business life cycle, based on the time of your business. If you are at the early stage of your business goals could be different. Once your business is at a maybe moderate stage where you are actually just started generating revenue, your business outcomes could be different. Once you are an established company, your business outcomes could be different. And that is where actually I'm sure the consultant like yours can play important role. Can we move on, Haridi?
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Definitely, Santosh, you can move on. I have a kind request. Attendees might address their queries after the speakers complete their speech. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Shravan. Yeah. So again, very very simple framework. Business outcomes will come only when we put efforts. Without putting effort, the business outcomes will not come. And we said efforts have to be in the right direction. Efforts have to be in the right direction. So let's move on. And effort is a function of competence and the commitment. I may be again I give example. Let's say I'm from IT industry. I may be a great coder. I'm able to do a coding in particular technology. If somebody actually takes 8 hours to do maybe 200 lines code, I am able to complete that in 2 hours. So actually, that determines my competence. But then at the same time, I need to have commitment. So the competence is, as Ashish mentioned, actually KSA. It is basically know-how, your knowledge, skills, and attitude towards achieving certain goal. So that determines your ability to perform. But at the same time, are you committed to deliver it? So commitment is more about your willingness, your confidence level, your engagement to deliver. So business outcome is a function of effort, and effort is a function of competence and commitment level. And both competence and commitment can be enhanced by having the right skill development and training programs. So here is a business case for having the right skill development and training program. Because you want a better business outcome, because you want to put the right effort, because you want to improve the competence of your people, because you want to improve the commitment level of your employees, you need to have the training and development programs. Now let me flip the slide and put it slightly differently. Again, this is based on my experience. So if there is a presence of a right skill development and training programs, what will happen? And here I will take example of, let's say, an accountant. We can take any role actually. Riddhi is an advocate. We can take a role of, let's say, legal profession. Let's say, as a legal professional, if you are put through a right training program, what will happen? Your processes will improve. Your ability to articulate, your ability to actually create a wonderful legal document, ability to actually create a case for your clients will improve. Similarly, if you are an accountant, if you are properly trained, you will see that your bookkeeping, your ability to actually create the profit and loss statement, everything will enhance. And if your process improves, your internal and external customer will be satisfied. The customer will get satisfied, and if your customers are satisfied, you're likely to get a repeat business, and that means you're likely to get a more financial benefit. So again, like, this is very very simple. If you are right training programs, if you are right skill development programs, you'll see that the operational efficiency enhances, process efficiency enhances, and if that happens, you'll see that the customers, whether they are internal or external customer, they become more and more happy. They will be happy to come back to you. They will be happy to give more and more business. So this is how the skill development and training programs can help you to achieve your business outcomes. Okay, so this is based on my personal experience. Whenever actually I have tried to design learning and development programs in any company, wherever I have worked, I have actually followed this. First, I have always looked at business strategy. What is a business strategy? Next 3 months, next 6 months, next 2 years, next 5 years. What is the business strategy? And it could be in terms of the top line, it could be in terms of the innovation, it could be in terms of anything. But that is what the business strategy document will tell us. And secondly, irrespective of whether you are a startup or established company, you would like to have a certain culture in an organization. And culture is nothing but a right combination of values and competency which are actually demonstrated and professed by the top leaders in the company. So this is becomes the starting point. Once we have this, then we have to identify the critical factors for the success. Once we know that next 3 years down the line we want to ensure that at least 2 products are rolled out in the market, and we are very clear this is how we want to roll out this product. The value could be result orientation, value could be caring for each other, value could be empathy. There could be various values that organization actually want to profess. So based on this, you have to identify some of the factors which are critical for the success. Once the factors which are critical for success are identified, we should be able to identify specific needs for talent readiness. And here when we are saying talent readiness is all about whether we want to achieve result today, 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line. So based on your talent readiness plan has to be there. So if you want certain things to be rolled out immediately, your talent has to be trained in next 1 week, 2 weeks. But if you want certain things to be rolled out by your talent in maybe next 1 year, 2 years, accordingly you have to actually redesign your training programs and see that the talent is available to the organization after 1 year, 2 years when actually you reach there. And based on this, you can actually design and exhibit specific L&D initiatives. And what will happen through this, you will ensure that your company has a high quality talent which is consistently delivering the best results for the organization. And this actually acts as an input again to your business strategy and values and competencies. So this is all a cyclical. Once you have decided your business strategy, values and competency, you will see that several actions taken with respect to the skill development and training programs are going to ensure that the high quality talent is available in the organization which is consistently delivering the best results. So I'm going to share one approach. I'm sure there are multiple approaches for L&D. I generally recommend the 6D approach. I'm sure some of the people who are from HR, they are aware about this framework. So first you have to define the business outcome before you design any L&D initiative, be it about the leadership development, be about maybe the induction program for your freshers, any L&D initiative that you are defining, you should actually first define the business outcome. Why you want this particular program? What is that you want out of this program? Then you should design the complete learning experience. This could be pre-work, what should get covered in the pre-work, what should be the part of the overall learning program, and then what should be their post-learning program to ensure that this learning program is effectively rolled out. So before the program is actually delivered, you need to design the learning experience and then ensure that the right partners are there. They could be your internal employees or the external training providers who can come and deliver for the right application that you have thought for. Once the training program is delivered, you need to ensure that the learning which is actually absorbed by your employees is driven on the job. So there is a proper learning transfer on the job, and for which you need to deploy certain performance support. Many times you actually engage external coaches to ensure that certain learning is transferred on the job. And most important, and this I have been practicing, is documenting the result, because many times your CFOs, your CEOs will say, okay, you have done this program, what happened, what is the output of this program? So you need to be able to document what was the pre, what is the post, what I used to do is actually, after the training program, I used to be in touch with the participant every week. I used to be in touch, obviously through my team. I used to be in touch with the participant to understand how are they doing with respect to the learning transfer. And post 90 days, I used to actually create some of the stories from their conversation. How these learning programs have helped them to achieve some of the business outcomes. Some of them said that because the negotiation skill training program, they were able to negotiate and get certain saving for the company. Some of them, they said their communication skill improved. Some of them, they said now they are able to actually gel well with the manager, gel well with their colleagues. So some of these results have to be documented and published. It is going to be very, very helpful if you want to drive a learning culture in your organization. I think Ashish has also talked about various learning things. He has talked about some of these skills. But here I am going to talk about some of the overall canvas of the learning in any organization. So it could be individual focus, it it could be group focused learning programs, and there are various tracks that as a company you have to drive. It could be e-learning track, it could be technical, it could be design training, it could be process track, it could be behavioral track, and that is where the soft skill training comes. And then there could be leadership development track, there could be sales training. So there could be multiple. I have just listed few illustrative examples, but there could be multiple learning tracks in any organization. And if you really want to drive a learning culture, you need to define multiple learning tracks for your organization. No one thing is going to be sufficient. Sometimes individual learning, sometimes group learning, sometimes various types of learning are going to help. When you are a fresher, when you are having a 5 years experience, when you are having a 10 years experience, the learning track has to be slightly different. And just to conclude, what we are saying here is working efficiency. We started with the working efficiency. Working efficiency leads to better business outcomes because you are able to put the right efforts in the right direction. Therefore, it is going to improve your business outcomes. But working efficiency is all driven by the optimal resource utilization. And when we are saying resources, there are multiple resources. They could be finance, but here we are talking about human resources as a critical thing for driving the working efficiency. And for human resources to be very, very efficient, there is certain basic need that every human being has, and that basic need is learning and growing. All of us, irrespective of what stage of our life we all are driven to learn, we are all driven to grow in our life. So these are basic needs available for any human being, and if we are able to cater to this need of human being, we are able to see that the working efficiency of any organization is enhanced, which can lead to the better business outcomes. Finally, I would like to quote Jack Welch with respect to the learning programs. What Jack Welch says is an organization's ability to learn. So you may have n number of skill development, learning development, training programs. But what is important is translating that learning into action rapidly is the ultimate competitive advantage. So the ability to learn, ability to understand what is required in the given context and relearn and rapidly put it into action is going to create a competitive advantage for you as an individual and as an organization. With this, I say thank you very much. If there are any questions, I am here to take those questions.
If anyone has any questions, can you surely ask the question. Sir, I have one question.
Yes.
My time, I have seen that due to increase of technologies and increase of softwares and everything, the demand for human resources has been decreased. So for example, I will tell you, like before there used to be for each and everything you need to have documentation. You need to have people who document them, the accounts staff who need to prepare proper accounts. But nowadays there are a lot of software which are doing automatically everything. So due to this, has the HR industry being affected due to that?
So I think you have actually hit the nail at the right place. Yeah, I think as a country, I think world, we are facing this problem. But at the same time, we have to understand that technologies are changing. Before, actually, I have joined IT industry very recently. Earlier, I used to work in manufacturing and other organizations. Earlier, I always used to hear a word called war for talent. War for talent. And I always used to get at least 10 applications for one opening. Maybe much more applications were there. And I'm sure many of you must be experiencing that. And whenever you're talking about the technology effect, because what is happening is maybe now legal work, accountant work, more people are available and less jobs are available. So I I never thought this war for talent exists in this actually corporate world. But now after joining the IT industry, which is again like an automated thing, coding can be automated, testing can be automated, but I'm actually struggling to get the right people in a IT. And you can talk to any IT industry actually, the TCS, Infosys, they are hiring so many people in large number in last 1 year, 2 year. So personally, what to answer your question is, maybe because of technology, certain particular skill sets are becoming redundant, certain skill sets are in abundance available, but at the same time, there are certain few more technologies are opening up. So what we have to do actually, as Ashish said, that we have to re-skilling. We have to keep identifying what are the new areas in which we can actually acquire skill and still remain the relevant.
With your permission, can I take 30 seconds to answer a little more
Yes,
directly?
Ashish, go ahead.
Thank you so
From
much.
my side, okay. Shravan has to be okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm okay.
thank you. So Riddhi, basically what you're asking, what you're asking, the automation, what has been automated is like the recruitment process, the payroll process and everything. Now, to what is most important, all the companies are focusing on something called PX. Have you heard of it? Yes or no? PX. It's called the employee experience. Okay. Now, the way the employee experience starts right from day one when an employee joins an organization till the day he or she exits the organization. So, what cannot be automated? So, my point is, yes, redundant, routine tasks are all automated. For that, you don't need. But yes, the areas, for example, employees have personal issues, challenges, going through stress issues, manager issues, competitor. When they want a personal touch, that's where that's going to be the special area which cannot be automated. So that's always exists. Only the routine, redundant activities are automated. So I just thought I was sharing this.
Yeah. If I can also just piggyback off of that, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, Mike.
Okay. I just put it in the chat. Since we said similarly, I agree. More and more is being automated, starting with routine tasks. Technology is getting better, but I think we're in this funny place where even though more things are being automated, it emphasizes even more the need for kind of the higher level skills.
Yes. But I have now seen that you should always keep on learning. It's like you should be what the industry needs. Otherwise, you will be at the back. So, is it true?
Very much.
Riddhi, if you could just call up for our next week, running a bit around that.
Yeah, sure. I would like to thank Dr. Santosh Gurupata for his brilliant and intellectual speech, which gave us a new way of thought. Now I would like to invite Mr. Mike Carson, a partner at the Gene and Dana LLP from New York, to come and speak.
Thank you so much, Riddhi and Shravan, and thanks everyone for joining, and thanks especially Santosh for your presentations. Can everyone hear me okay? Great. I'm having a little bit of a strange issue where my microphone on my PC doesn't work, so I'm going to be sharing my slides from my PC, but I'm sharing from the phone. But let me see if I can just get my slides up. And okay, can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, so this is me. I always like to just do a little bit about who I am and why I'm here, even though I thank you for the kind introduction. So I'm an intellectual property lawyer based in New York at Wigan and Dana. I'm a partner there, and I have been involved in entrepreneurship for a long time. I started my career as a business consultant, and right out of law school, I worked a lot with startup companies and continue to do that. And yeah, involved in all sorts of technologies, blockchain much more recently, but consumer electronics and software. My background is in electrical engineering and math and patent law, and I know that both prior speakers have talked about hard skills versus soft skills. and certainly those are in the category of hard skills. The focus of what I wanted to talk about today was really more in the nature of soft skills, and I wanted to expand on what Ashish and Santosh talked about when they spoke about the importance of these power skills and also the importance of culture. I've had an interesting opportunity and probably just lucky opportunity because in addition to being a lawyer and working every day in innovation and patents and engineering and technology, I've also had two sort of side jobs or passion projects, and those have really informed the way that I think about these issues of skills and training and what's important. For a long time I kept them very separate from my law and technology job because I thought they were just very different, but as it turns out, they're very interesting in the way they inform, I think, all of these issues. The first is I've been writing for a website called the Good Men Project for 10 or 12 years, and I started doing it. I was coaching my son's league baseball team. I started writing about sports, but through that platform, I've written a lot about social justice. And a few years ago, when we started talking more about diversity and inclusion and equity in the workplace and in the law firm, I realized that that's really the same conversation. So I'll talk a little bit about that. The other side, sort of passion of mine that I used to keep very separate from work as a patent lawyer and entrepreneur strategist has been my mental health advocacy. I've been a mental health advocate, writing about it, talking about it, leading men's groups about it for probably 10 years. But it was never something that I spoke about on, for example, LinkedIn or at my law firm until very recently. But I think in this hopefully post-pandemic world, I think both of those skill sets that I think were long considered sort of soft skill sets, I see them being increasingly important. So that's really what I want to focus on today. So thank you everyone for joining me this evening. It's my Sunday morning here. What I want to talk about is soft skills. I have a little bit of a different list of things that I want to talk about. I want to talk about 7 things. A little bit of a different list than Ashish. There's no magic, one set of these are the soft skills you should focus on. And the reason I chose to focus on it is because I think when we go to conferences and we go to school, we spend a lot of time learning the hard skills, learning how to program and learning, about management philosophies, and learning how to read, P&L sheets and learning how to do project management. And those are very, very important skills. Like that is the basic that you must have. The reason that I want to talk more about soft skills, and I think, that's actually, I think came about as kind of a negative way of thinking at it. It was the word soft, I think, was thought of as these are kind of these side weak skills that are unimportant. But I think after 20 years of doing IP law and working with lots of startup companies and lots of big companies, and also through this kind of work on the side that I was talking about, the Good Men Project, and my mental health advocacy, which since January I have a business called Lawyering While Human. I think I've come to the conclusion that, of course, to be successful, you need hard skills as a baseline, but what's going to differentiate whether you have real high impact from just being kind of average is how good you are at these, let's maybe call them power skills, like Ashish did. In terms of my background, I'm an IP lawyer. I'm an IP professor at NYU. I teach in their startup school. I've been involved in the startup ecosystem in New York. I've been a sort of advisor on the business and law side, and I also do litigation and other things in IP. But I love the entrepreneurial work because you're building things together, so one sort of realization that I think underlies all of this is business is not so different than life, right? Of course, we talk about, we can talk about Jack Welch and the people who do a lot of businesses and their excellent management skills at work and hard skills at work. But underlying it all, despite the increases in technology, at the end we're human beings, and we go home and we all have lives outside of work, and we're all dealing with these similar issues and have similar pain points. And I think it's interesting because I think in a lot of training, engineering, law, I think we focus so much on the hard skills that we maybe forget a little bit, and we have to almost relearn some of these power skills. So I just want to I know we have limited time, so I just want to kind of go through these 7 takeaways, and I'm always willing to speak more about this. I'll have my contact info at the end. But I want to just talk about these 7 things. I think they're all actually very tightly connected, even though people don't always connect them. And I think the other thing is that I think is a misconception is that people think you're either born with some of this stuff or you're not. Like either you're a good people person or you're not, or you're a good team player or you're not. And as the other 2 speakers alluded to already, and as I will emphasize, that's just not true. We can teach these things. We do teach these things. It can come with practice, like anything. So I think it's just a matter of valuing them and incentivizing that work. So the first thing I want to talk about is human-centric leadership. And that's I see consulting companies much fancier than me, consulting companies using that word to really just talk about, leading with, being an authentic leader, being a vulnerable leader. And what do I mean by that? I think for a long time the model for leadership was very transactional. Make a widget, move along, this person does this person does this. And I think it's actually really important, and more so now than ever. We're working somewhat remotely, we're working in teams, we're collaborating. It's been a sort of 2-year global trauma for a lot of us. Is to really remember that you're working with human beings, and sometimes what it takes, especially when and I think as I forget who said it, but one of the prior speakers said it. It goes both ways. Whether you're a junior person, the way you interact with people, you're leading other people, or whether you're very senior. I think it's really important. I think people hear words like vulnerability and authenticity, and they think weak. And I think the opposite is really true. I'm not saying always tell everyone everything and be very vulnerable, but there are moments where it's really important if a young person makes a mistake to say, instead of yelling at them and sending a nasty email, to say, oh yeah, we all make mistakes, let's figure out how to fix it. So that's just one thing I wanted to underscore. The other thing, and I think it's very tightly coupled, is collaboration and teamwork. I think over the course of my working life, the way we've worked has really changed, in large part due to technology. When I was first a lawyer, we would sit, 5 lawyers in a room, and we'd all be on a case or a project, and we'd have meetings and talk about it. Maybe we'd dictate a memo together, and then we'd look at it together. And now it's much different, right? You don't really ever have to have that meeting, or a lot of people don't. I might say, please draft this and send it to me, and I redline it, and then someone else does this little piece of it. We just email, and nobody sees anyone or really talks to anyone. And you can do work that way, but I think it is again emphasizing the human part to figure out when you do need to have that meeting, when it is important to get on the same page first, when it's far more efficient to do that, so that people don't spin their wheels. So being collaborative and being a team player, I think, is now more important than ever. My office is remote. I'm hybrid, working in the city 2 days a week. I'm communicating with everyone below me and everyone above me, by email. So, it emphasizes a different set of skills. Communication is really, really, really important, and having the right communication style and timing, I think, is important. The other 2 issues that I want to mention that I talked about as sort of side passion projects for me are mental health and wellness. I think a lot of people right now, in the U.S. I know, and I think this is probably true globally, are really rethinking, reframing, reprioritizing the balance between work and life. I've looked at this issue very hard, and I think that you can, as a worker, realize as a leader in the company, as a junior person in the company, that having your brain function well is pretty much what it's all about. We don't do good work when our brains aren't functioning well. We're not creative. We're not solving problems. So I think there's a really excellent business case for making sure that you have a culture and a communication style, a team style that appreciates these issues. And I think the same is true for diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think it's really critical to have diverse teams. If we have a team that's a bunch of white men putting out a product, we're going to miss things. We're going to not understand things. So I think geographic diversity and diversity of background is really, really important. And something that we're just sort of scratching the surface of. Number 5, I think, is also really important. One of my very good friends at the Goodman Project, I had a meeting with him once, and we were having coffee, and he said, "What do you think is the most important thing that you would want your son to learn, or your child to learn?" Right? And I was like, "I don't know. It could be, many things." And he said, "I thought about this a really long time, and it's really having good relationships. People who have good relationships are successful in business and happy in life, and it's a skill that we never really teach. There's no class. I mean, maybe there are now, but I don't remember in my training, the how to have good relationships class. We pick it up from parents and friends and bits and pieces, and I see now that my son, it is learning. Networking is learning. When I was a young student and someone said, "Okay, now you have to network," I was very nervous. What do I do? "Oh, hi, I'm Mike."
Excuse me, Mike. You actually have a small time constraint, so we could be a bit fast.
I'll finish up. No problem. Give me 1 minute. So I think having good relationships is critical. And then the last 2 points are, giving is better than taking. I think that goes with mentorship and the way you treat people. And then in all skills, even though you work in technical fields, and I started electrical engineering, computer science, storytelling, narrative is critical. I think learning to do that, learning to write, learning to conceive a good story is important in all aspects of success, and I think that's an important thing to be trained on. So with that, I will wrap up. I know we have a time constraint. Thank you, everyone. If anyone wants to get in touch with me, I threw my contact info on here, and I can put it in the chat, and it's nice to see everyone and meet everyone.
So if any of you have any queries for Mr. Michael Cantha.
Sir, I want to ask a question. Sir, as I am a law student presently in college, sometimes I got confused and get nervous that how can I survive as a fresh lawyer when my LLB degree will complete in this world where many pro people are there carrying their business very well. Sir, I want to ask you that did you also felt this in your past years when you complete your college and get in this business? If yes, then how you will overcome this situation and get in this big position as we are seeing you as a real inspiration?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I felt that when I was in law school, and I think it's very natural to feel that. And I think, there's a reason. Things take time, and relationships take time, and one day in 15 years, all your friends will be the people making decisions about who to hire and what to do, so in the beginning of your career, I think the best advice I can give is, yes, of course, like every one of us who's speaking tonight has felt that when we were back in your position, and I think the best thing to do is to focus on, building your skills, building relationships, and really just like being a good human, because I think people want to work with good humans. And that's why I emphasize, giving rather than taking. Networking isn't just asking for things; it's like, how can I help you? And I think it's a long game.
Okay.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks, Mike, for your amazing speech.
My pleasure.
Riddhi, if you could just continue.
Yeah, sure. So I would like to thank Mr. Mike Custom for his amazing speech, and I would like to invite Mr. Shravan Shetty, the founder of Bodhi3, to continue and end this speech.
Thank you, Riddhi. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, thank you.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build on the presentations which the three previous speakers have already done in terms of foundation. So I'm going to take a step away from them. I'm not going to be taking you through a PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to be talking extempo because I know there's fatigue also when it comes to PowerPoint presentations. So I'm going to be mindful of that. So I'm going to begin my presentation on the role of skill development and training programs in improving work efficiency by putting out three questions which are rhetorical questions which is for us to think about. Question number one is, what is your OTP? When I say OTP, what I mean is, it comes to my second question, how does your opportunity tapped portfolio look like? Does your resume look like one? That's my third question for you. Let's look at skill development, right? So skill development courses that we take up when we are in college are specifically of help to perform a particular activity in a very experienced manner so that we can demonstrate it as skill. Now, through a skill development course that we have done, we are either demonstrating one skill or multiple skills. Right? So these skills could be what in college lingo is soft skills, hard skills, technical skills. So pure soft skills for a law student could be, just the way to persuade somebody. How do you put across an argument? How do you debate? But if you want to get technical about it, how do you demonstrate these soft skills in a moot court, for example, right? When you do a moot court, can you demonstrate your legal prowess in terms of understanding of the legal knowledge and, convince the jury or the judge who's there present? So now that brings us to a question. What are the opportunities available for skill development for you as a student, irrespective of the stream that you're in? And when you're looking at it, let's not just look at your college, because you might say your college does not give you a lot of options. Then the question is, if it's not in your college, what are other colleges providing as opportunities? What about your city? What about the state that you stay in, right? What about India on the whole? If one student can access it somewhere in this country, why can't you if you're studying the same course, right? So we are all concerned about automation, but did automation also open up other opportunities that we're not looking at, because we're all looking at those closed doors of jobs that kind of got shut out because of the job automations, right? Whichever sector that you are, this is something for us to think about. Now we usually differentiate between soft skills and technical skills to go a little more deeper. We say skills related to personality that tend to be transferable, like communication skills, leadership skills, time management, right? Stress management, decision making, adaptability, ability to deal with adversity and networking. When you look at technology companies generally say that this is the most efficient strategy if we have to upskill our technology teams. It's how do we use technology skills and leadership skills as a competitive advantage and driver of business outcomes. Now, whatever anybody tells us in the engineering courses that we do or business management programs that we do, finally when you go into the interview and you're actually working in the real world, your soft skills and your hard skills are not separate. They are just skills, right? They come together. In the interview, when somebody asks you, okay, what do you think is the value you're going to bring to our organization? You won't say, I will do this for you soft skill wise, I will do this for you hard skills wise. It's integrated value that you're unlocking for the organization. Let's connect skill and training programs to work efficiency. Now, whatever the skill development programs are on offer, these workshops or courses are normally offered in various forms of programs. The program itself could be indicating of a certain skill. If you're saying data science or mechanical engineering or mechatronics, whichever course that you're picking. And there are programs which are just a day-long certification programs. You have diploma programs, PG diploma, undergraduate, bachelor's level, PG, master's level, PhD, doctorate level. You can go on specializing in the real world through standalone programs or integrated programs and courses. Now, this can also be very sector specific when we look at apprenticeship programs, which is for diploma students as well, right? Now, when we're looking at all the skill development, I don't want to, go away from the focus of what this organization is curating. One of the objectives of the conferences that Shravan and team are hosting is that they're saying that we not only want to help students, get better at what they're doing in terms of their overall skill and prospects, but they also want this to be a forum where students can develop entrepreneurial skills as well. So when we look at skill development and we look at work efficiency, it's not just from the point of view of making you an employee. It's also for you to, be entrepreneurial, be self-employed or start a business, and you could start a law firm for all that matters, right? So definitely there is a strong linkage. Now let's look at the rationale for the same. when we align the workplace requirements of companies and we see what is the workforce that they are looking for, they're looking for a workforce that is knowledge, skill and mindset ready to get the job done. Now when we look at the evolution of right from industry 1.0 to now, as Ashish was saying earlier, we can see that the long predicted talent gap is upon us. We may state that the vast majority of young people joining today's workforce needs to know that what's changed dramatically is that today's career is no longer a straight climb up the corporate ladder, right? Because the organizations are not that long. It's not about you working for 20 years and getting to the top. So you could join a law firm which has only 5 people, 5 senior lawyers, 3 junior lawyers. Then where does that take you, right? So today's career is no longer a straight climb up the corporate ladder. It wouldn't be wrong of us to say that it's rather a combination of climbs, lateral moves and planned descents also. You might choose to, after getting a few years of experience, start something on your own or join a different sector. Like the second speaker talked about how he was in the manufacturing sector for a long duration and then he switched to IT. It clearly shows that his domain skills, he's taken it to a completely different sector. So probably somebody 20 years ago wouldn't understand this and say, hey, Santosh, you should have stuck to the same sector. Why did you leave? But it makes absolute sense for Santosh, and in today's world, this is exactly what's required to take your expertise to different sectors where it can be more valued and leveraged. Today's skill development with technology aid and customized training programs can help tailor the workforce for diverse employer and customer appetites. I say that because if you're choosing not to be join an organization, then whom you're dealing with is a customer, right? And your customer is looking for what is it that you can bring, which is a little extra from the available services or products in the market, right? So now you could be a young professional from a college anywhere in the world joining a company, or you might even be seeking to be an entrepreneur. Now the question is, how can technology, skill development and workshops result in enhanced productivity? Definitely we all agree that a little extra that we do in college compared to our peers and other college students makes us look extraordinary if somebody is evaluating our resume or looking at our work that we are doing. Now let's look at how manufacturing is a sector involved. Right? 15-20 years ago, if you looked at a shop floor, it would be full of human beings and machines, right? Slowly we could see that every 5 years in every sector, the technology developed to such an extent that the machines became more compact, started doing multiple functions, and human beings disappeared from the workflow, which meant that the person on the shop floor was far more skilled in managing multiple machines, managing it on his own, with probably just a shift happening in terms of time zones as such, where one person goes and somebody else comes. Right? Now this also means that we can see this is impacting all these sectors. Earlier, I remember 15 years ago, when you wanted to create a website, you had to go to somebody who could code the website. Today, you can go onto a website, pick a template, edit the template and put it together yourself. Right? You might need a little bit of help if you need more customized work or detailed work. Right? And this gives us the idea that better the productivity and profit for any organization, then you find that there's a higher percentage of workforce that has precise knowledge, very high level of skills and a growth mindset to work both as individual contributors as well as a team. Now how does this add up? We all know organizations look for employees who A, know the job that needs to get done, B, get the job done with high productivity, C, adapt into the existing company culture and fit in so work is smooth. So the days are gone when if you're a rock star, the company will take you in. Today when they take you in, you need to be able to work with rock star people. It's not enough if you're like a Steve Jobs. It might work for you if you own the company. But if you are going to join a company as Steve Jobs, you need to know how to work with the rest of the guys, because the rest of the teams are also bringing skills to the fore. Right? So the day of the rock star individual is over unless the rock star can fit into the company culture. Now, as earlier speakers were speaking, we know that you have blended learning and development programs available online. Not just online, even YouTube. So I don't know how many of the attendees have seen the earlier conferences, which has been curated by Shravan and team. You can find that they are touching upon a lot of areas. They have a lot of speakers. Now we can all choose to be like individuals who can decide to also learn for free, but we need to put in a little more hard work. So for every program that is expensive, you also have programs that are either free or available for a lesser amount of money, right? So the question is, what do you want to learn? How do you want to see your career unfold? And let's look at, to just put it into a relatable framework, let's look at the career dimension. Why should you as an individual or as a working professional invest in your skill development? That's a core crucial question. One is, if you are going to be very highly skilled, let me assure you that pace is first dimension you should be looking at. Your options related to the rate of your career progression will amplify, which means that your role and time to promotion will accelerate. Reasonable pay and the likely progression path will also accelerate. So which means that, take a law student who's going through law college. I'm using a lot of law examples because I can see that there are students of the law here as well. But whether you're a law student or any discipline related to your field, can you pick up experience? Experience comes from observation also. So the question is that before the pandemic, if you wanted to get into court, live court, and people were stopping you from saying you're not relevant here, you can't see. Today if you go online, you can see that there are a lot of court proceedings which are displayed online, which you can access. So looking at different lawyers practice different areas, or consultants, engineers, talking about their field. How are they applying their real world knowledge? What is the skill of demonstration? What is the skill of persuasion? You can definitely see that you can increase the pace. Now workload. All of us talk about work-life balance. If you're really good at your job, you will find that in a lot of cases, individuals are able to have a differentiated workload. It's unfair, but people who are really competent go up the corporate ladder, and it showcases very clearly that the choices related to the quantity and quality workload will increase in the initial stages because you're a good performer, but it will stabilize because you will reach a supervisory position or leadership position where you'll be more in control and you can choose to see how you want to take on workload. 3, location of work. Options for when and how you perform your role. Restrictions will decrease as your competence emerges and people will give you that flexibility. Now your role in the organization and the domain, your choices in position and responsibilities, work assignments, span of management will grow. You can choose to be an individual contributor role or a leadership role depending upon the value that you've unlocked in the sector or the organization that you are, which means that you need to be able to demonstrate superior skills and how that's related to productivity for the organization. So let me give you a use case as we get closer to the time allocated for me to complete. As somebody earlier said, time management is like a key skill for any individual anywhere to showcase his prowess in terms of competence. If we can be given a particular time to demonstrate our knowledge, skill and mindset, we should be able to do that. So a quick use case. In the beginning, companies used to begin engagement with engineering graduates only in the final semester, be it the way they held tech competitions or hackathons, or companies like Infosys coming in and saying we'll do a Campus Connect program, train you on certain skill sets, soft skills and technical skills. We have seen over the past decade that they started going into the engineering colleges earlier than the last semester. They started going in third semester, then in second semester. Then we saw disruption even in that. They started hiring students who are BSc computer science students and from other streams, right? Because they wanted to hire faster. Now we have seen an approach by HCL a few years ago where HCL began to take students from Tamil Nadu and certain CBSE schools immediately after the 10th board exams, the 12th board exams, took them into the system, started training them on technology, and then gave them a BSc honors degree if they stayed with the company from Shivnagar University, kind of like an integrated course, right? So that evolution hasn't stopped even now because they feel that not all engineering students can be taught skills once they've completed the 4 years of engineering course to relearn things which is required. So let me give you an example from the social sector because I work on the intersection of the corporate sector, startups, educational institutions. Right? So Now Gurukul is a social sector organization which has recently started a few years ago. They've set up residential campuses in Pune, in Bangalore, and they're opening up campuses elsewhere. They take 10th standard students from low-income families, boys and girls in separate residential hostels, put them up after they've taken through a test. They need to clear the test. If they don't, they're given repeat attempts to see how they can better their scores because they don't come with the capability of parents to put them through Byju's or any kind of tuitions to enhance their skills. So they're given enough time to take successive attempts that they have an interest in technology. Now after they clear the test, they also do like a fitment interview to see how they fit it. If they are and the family is okay with them staying on these campuses for a duration of close to a year plus. Now, once they come onto the campus, they're taken through through Python coding and UX and UI, right? Now they're trained on it extensively because that's all that they're learning. They're just learning the technical language, the course, and they're being taught communication skills. At the end of the program, they get a certificate from Coursera. It's a tie-up which they have managed to do, and I think it's an evolution. I don't know the specific details, but this is what I know from my interaction with the team. Now, over the past so many years, as they've done batch after batch, from initial placement which they were able to do for some of these young students into Python coding jobs, which was at let's say at 2.4 lakhs or 3 lakhs. Now, as the students are becoming more and more aware from these backgrounds, and the ones, again I'm stressing, not everybody gets the same package. It's like the IIMs and IITs. Not everybody who goes to IIM IIT will get like 25 lakhs package, 30 lakhs package, 40 lakhs package. We focus on the average placement package, and so if you go to IIM IIT, you're fantastic. No, there are a few who get a really high salary. Everybody talks about average placement rates. Nobody talks about the actual individual placement. If you share that list with you, you would be shocked, right? So similarly in Navgurukul, you also have individuals who have touched 10-12 lakhs of pay package per annum. This is extraordinary for somebody who is from a low-income family, right? So this is just to demonstrate that definitely there is like a high possibility for us, if you're looking out for opportunities, to find those opportunities related to our career stream. Now you have to do some thinking, you have to do some digging to do it. Now, one more thing which usually comes up in all these discussions and forums is about certification and skill enhancement, right? So I want to go a little deeper and say, if your skills and knowledge are visible, right, your competence is visible on those skills, very rarely will they actually look at digging in and finding out where you got certified and what the certification was all about, right? The background verification team of the company will do it as a tick-off. But let's say the skills that you say you have, you're not able to demonstrate that in the discussion or in the interview, then 100% anybody else who comes in from that certification workshop is going to be looked at in that. If you're really good, then you become the brand ambassador, and everybody else who comes in from there, they will say, oh, these guys are fantastic, these girls are really phenomenal, right? So you are setting the context. So any course that you take up, you should definitely look at the knowledge and the skill and how can you demonstrate that in the real world. So which is why I say, I understand you go and try for projects from companies might not give you. You try for internships, companies might not give you. But you can do self-initiated projects. To give you an example, I was running a program on taking self-initiation and self-initiated projects for a business school in Kerala close to 8-9 years ago. And there was this young person who was very passionate about getting into the mobile sector, right? The Airtel, those kind of companies, Airtel, Spice and all those companies. And he came to me and said, what can I do? So I said, you can try and go and pitch for projects which is not during your college time, because everybody else is looking for internships, so companies feel like students are breathing down their neck. So he had like a 3-week holiday from the college where he decided to go outside at a service provider's office, wait outside. As he was waiting outside, he talked to the watchman did not let him in, but he saw that some people were coming out for a smoke. We know that in psychology, people who are in sales, you will find a certain degree of people who will come out to smoke. He got talking to one of them, he went in, he said he'll speak to his boss, so who's the distribution head for the SIM cards and all of that. And after waiting for half an hour, possibly the person forgot that the student was waiting outside, and Arun Wahid was sitting outside, and then when they came out for a lunch break, they saw him. So the salesperson who had spoken to him during the smoking break introduced him to his boss. So Arun went about doing a study where he went around one of these cities in Kerala, finding out what was the preferred SIM that they were looking at. He did a small survey, he added it to his project, right? And later on, when the group discussions and all of that started in college, companies started coming, he cracked one interview, he got through to the interview and everybody was applauding him. And that was my third intervention in the college. And here's where I want to talk about the fact that I did speak about initiation and projects and all of that, but it's important to see how he, in an entire class of batch of 220 students split across batches, came up to me after that and he said, what else can I do now? I said, you got a job, relax. He said, no, what if my campus placement gets delayed? What happens then? So I said, what do you want to do? So I want to do something else which will keep me ahead. So when I joined the organization, I can be ahead. And that's when number mobility was coming in, right? You could, portability, you could change it. That's when there was talk about it. So I said, do a survey and see how many students would want to switch to, right? And which service provider. So he started doing those surveys, right? Now years later when I see him, he's probably not even in the same sector. But that zeal for taking that self-initiated project, doing something on his own, keep pushing the tempo, has worked really well for him, right? So we all wish for extrasensory perception, right? However, the world that we live in, it needs evidence of your knowledge and skills, whether it's to apprenticeships, internships, part-time projects, competitions that you go for, self-initiated projects, right? Where you can show evidence of the skills that you state you have to the employer or client who's looking for it. To make it really simple, you need to have a core skill, you need to show how you're applying it in the real world. Response capture, what were your learnings from that experience? And that should come across in your resume. And you need to customize your resume for each employer. Even an interview, you can't take it easy according to me. You need to see how is your skill relevant to the employer. Research the website, get to know about the company. So when you are talking to the person in the company, you should be able to talk about the employer. If you are going to treat all the jobs the same and you're going to go with one resume, the same resume, it's not going to work. You need to rework it, customize it so that you can have an appeal for this organization that you're applying to. So which means that your resume should look like an opportunity tab portfolio.
You could just to be a bit fast.
Yeah, I'm up to the last point actually, coincidentally. So what I want to say as a closing point or comment is that I started with OTP, I want to close with OTP, is to say that whatever opportunities you are going to get, either to volunteer, to work, whether it's an internship, job, projects, whether it's for something like this conference platform, participate, give it all that you can, document it, and you will have your opportunity tag portfolio. So all the best for you as you work towards improving your skill levels and getting more efficient as you go out into the real world. That's what I would like to say as a closing comment. Thank you for the opportunity.
I would like to thank Shravan for his amazing speech. If anyone has any queries, Manshi, Abhishek, Faisal, Budanshu, Ms. Janvi, any queries? You may address it. So no queries for the overall conference. Yeah, do you have any question?
Yeah, I have a question for Shravan. Shravan sir, as you said that the resume should be very effective.
Yes.
Going for an interview, and there are two people like me myself, and there is one another person. So if my resume is more attractive and effective, will it work? Like the other person has more knowledge than me, but my resume is stronger. So who will survive, the resume one or the knowledgeable person?
So Riddhi, I think you are demonstrating your skills as a lawyer. That's a trick question. I say it's a trick question because if your resume is strong and the other person is more knowledgeable, it's important that whatever you put in your resume, you should be able to back it up, right? So just the resume being attractive is not good enough. You should definitely be able to demonstrate that it is your resume. Otherwise, people will think that somebody else created the resume. So definitely the knowledge and skill that is demonstrated, is the plus point. And if you can combine both the resume being attractive and you are being able to back it up in the interview, that's a deadly combination.
Sir,
I hope that answers.
Sir, but again it comes like within a 15-minute short interview. You cannot portray what all things you have. Like your resume might be a bigger one, मतलब बड़ा रहेगा resume. But again you have a short time of span for showing it up. So what about that?
So Riddhi, I think that's a very good question. So which means that you know that you have a short duration of time. You know your resume needs to be effective and what you're going to back it up with. So when you go into that interview room, whatever is there in your resume, you need to have additional points to make, to connect, so that the employer knows that you've done homework on the role that you're getting into. Your interest and your preparation needs to show in terms of being with that employer. It's not about how good you are, it's about how you're going to fit into that organization's wish list of a productive employee. That's crucial. That balance is crucial.
Shravan, I would just like to add one point over here.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So Riddhi, normally from an interviewing point of view, today the interviews are called, we do CBI's interviews, it stands for competency-based interviews. If somebody asks you, tell me your 10 strengths and 10 weaknesses, you should know you're sitting in, your recruiter is outdated, right? Okay, so when it's no longer asking your 10 strengths, we rather, even if we have you will maximum have a time of about 6 to 7 minutes, but we can ask any single question which is appearing on a one-page CV. Just ensure that you've done your proper homework, you have data and facts to support whichever word you have printed on a CV. That should be good enough. Smart is good, but ultimately we need content. We need to ensure, we need to know that you have sufficient experience, you're reasonable, you're logical thinking, you had the problem, you do the root cause analysis, outcomes. So every word on a CV you should have a hands-on experience, you should know what you have written on a CV. That will help you a lot. Just adding this thing here.
Shravan, I have a question.
So Riddhi, just to close the loop, I just want to focus on the word competence that Ashish brought in. So it's important that in the interview the competence that the company is looking for is highlighted and not the competence that you want to push, right? So that becomes the crucial differentiator. So that will come only with preparation for that particular employee. I hope that clarifies your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go through the job description of the company, that will also help you a lot.
True.
Yeah, Shravan, I think Janvi has a question.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sure. Actually, when we go for an interview, they already have our resume, right? With our experience and everything.
Correct.
When they ask to tell about your experience, is that need to again explain the thing what was presented in the resume, or we should explain the extra what is not present in the resume?
Thank you for answering your own question. So what I'm trying to say is that the resume is there with them, yes. So when they're asking a question, tell me something about yourself, they want you to correlate what you put in the resume with additional information. That's why they've called you for the interview, right? Otherwise it would be based on it. So yes, absolutely, you shouldn't repeat what is already in the resume. The resume is a reference point for you to have a conversation with them and align to the competencies and the job description as Ashish was indicating earlier, which is being mentioned, right? So that alignment of the JD, the competencies and your resume is what's taking place as a conversation in the interview, right?
Yes. Ashish, I have a question for you.
Sure, please go.
Actually, you said the communication is most important, right?
That's right.
Communication between two is most important. But my question is it necessary to communicate everything at one instance, or we have to give a chance to the other person to make more questions? Whatever we are on that particular topic.
I mean, could you just rephrase your question and what exactly you were trying to ask?
Means, I'm going to ask some. I'm going to explain something, okay, on some topic. Is that necessary to give all the explanation at a time? So that the other person can understand well, or we should expect questions from them. Means I went for an interview, okay. They asked some question on some about their company or something.
Janvi, your
Whatever.
doubt is extremely good. Actually, Ashish has shared his email ID in the chat box, so I guess you can mail him afterwards. We're actually running a bit short on time, so I actually apologize.
No worries, Shravan. So I just want to check if there are any other questions, or we can just want to check. Anybody else has any questions? I can share my email ID in the chat box as well. So if there are any questions, people can.
I would like to request the guests to share their email IDs in the chat box, and if any attendees have got any lengthy queries, any case study something, you can simply mail them out, or you can either reach them out on the LinkedIn as well. You all are active.
Yeah, yes. You can reach me on LinkedIn as well. I think that would be best. You can just find me on LinkedIn itself.
Yes, sir. I would like to thank everyone for being a part of this conference, all our guests as well as my hosts, and I would like to thank all the attendees for like bearing up with us for more than 1 hour. This is actually a bit high. So yeah, thank you everyone. And do be active and connect with us again tomorrow for our second session of Conference 0.9 on emerging role of skill development and training programs, improving work efficiency. Thank you.
Thank you, Shravan.
Thanks everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Attendees might leave the meeting. You may connect again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you. Associates, please stay back for a minute. With the division.